Thanks for watching our What's New in Trimble Business Center version 3.70 user group video. My name is Terrell Carlton, and I am a Trimble certified instructor for California Surveying and Drafting Supply. If you are interested in being notified of future user group webinars, please send me an email at terrell@csdsinc.com or give us a call at 916-344-0232 and we'd be happy to put you on the list. Today we're going to be looking at what's new in Trimble Business Center version 3.70, and we will include the following topics: view filter labels, command to include points in a surface using the Feature Definition Manager, saving and reusing user options, toggling visibility of elements in the plan and 3D views, the command to flatten DXF or DWG drawings on export, assigning keyboard shortcuts, the merge projects command, and the command to convert from local to global coordinates in Trimble Business Center. The first piece we want to talk about is the Feature Definition Manager, and one of the additions that has been brought back into 3.70 that was in previous versions but was removed for simplicity, but was requested to be added back in, and that is the checkbox over here under the points properties. The checkbox that says include in surface. This checkbox, when enabled, allows you, when you are using feature coding in the field and then processing in Trimble Business Center, you are able to create surfaces that include all your points, but any points that have this box deselected or unchecked are not included in the surface. So what this enables you to do is in Trimble Business Center, if I create a surface out of some points here, but I have say I select these points, but I have this point right here selected to not include it in the surface. So if I hit no, make sure that's saved, and then now that point is included in the surface that I'm going to create. I go to Surfaces, Create Surface, create a new surface. I notice that that point 1150 is not included in the surface, even though it was selected when I said include in surface. What this does is simplifies the creation of DTMs or surfaces inside of TBC for exporting either back into Trimble Access or into some type of a machine control environment, and allows you to create just surfaces that include your necessary points or your necessary elevations without having to go through and clean up the surface after the fact, after the creation, and remembering which points should be included and which should not. It's purely dictated by the feature code. Another element of what's new in 3.70 are the labels on the tabs now. So my different tab views, my plan view here, if I was to open up a second plan view or a 3D view, for example, I would see a label that tells me which view filter is actually being used for that perspective. So on this 3D view, I can see webinar 1. Plan view, I see the webinar 1 as well. All of them are sharing a view filter right now. If I go into my view filter manager and I switch this one back to my filter, I notice the label changes here on my plan view. Now it says my filter, whereas plan view 2 still is webinar 1 and does not include those RTK vectors from my filter view over here in my other plan view. This functionality existed before, but the labels were not there, so it wasn't necessarily intuitive which view filter was being used for which tabs. So they have added in that label, so now you can quickly identify what information is being shown based on the label, and know if the information that you're looking for is just not showing up because it's hidden by a view filter. The next function was under the File tab. We want to talk about our user options, and they've added in the ability to reuse user options. So if I go to my File tab, I go to Options. These are my global or my user options that allow me to dictate or specify how TBC looks and functions. Down at the bottom now, they have added the ability to manage these options and to import, export, or restore defaults. You could always restore the defaults, but now they've added the ability to export out these options once you have a acceptable configuration. You can export that file, and then the next time you reinstall or update TBC to the next or latest version, you're able just to import that saved file and not have to reconfigure all of your user options. So this will go a long way to save time in the update and reinstall processes, and will streamline the ability to upgrade the software to the latest version. In the Project Explorer, they've added the ability to toggle the visibility of specific elements inside of the selected view. So for example, and if I zoom into my same surface in two different views here, close my properties pane. If I right click on this new surface, I now have the ability to toggle my visibility. So if I select toggle visibility, whichever tab I have highlighted up here at the top, you can see the darker blue versus the grayed out color here, that surface is hidden just from that specific view or that specific view filter. If I notice in my 3D view, that surface has also been removed because it shares that Webinar 1 view filter. So the toggle visibility is extremely useful and extremely handy because it's right here in my Project Explorer, and I can just toggle that, and if I go back into my View Filter Manager, I can see that for my Webinar 1 filter, my Surface 2 has been deselected. So it's essentially pulling out one of the functions of the View Filter Manager out into the Project Explorer so that it's a little easier and a little more intuitive to find, and you can verify those or change those back in the View Filter Manager, or I can simply toggle the visibility again and it would show that surface again. Another piece that they have added to TBC 3.70 is the ability on the export of CAD formats, either DWG or DXF, both. You have the ability to flatten now these drawings as you export them. So in the case where you have gone into the field, recorded feature codes, processed those in TBC to establish your line work, and now you want to export those out into either Civil 3D or some other CAD package, you are able to flatten those and turn those from the 3D drawings that they are into a 2D drawing if you are not looking to have elevations imported into CAD. Another feature of TBC, which is not new to 3.70 but is relatively unknown and has come to our attention as being an almost hidden feature to a lot of the users that we support, is the ability to define command shortcuts. So on my Support tab, if I choose under my Customize group here, I have my Define Command Shortcuts. I can, for any of the commands inside of TBC, or for a majority of the commands in TBC, I should say, I can define a keyboard shortcut from the list on this side. So there are a set number of, or a set list of the key combinations that can be used. So it's not universal, but it gives you a lot of customization, a lot of flexibility with the different combinations here. If I choose a tool that already has one assigned, I could always come in, for example, the Properties pane by default is the F11 key. I could come in and I could change this, or I could remove it set it to none if I prefer to use the F11 key for a different command. If I, for example, drop into a tool that does not have a keyboard shortcut and I try to choose one of the shortcuts that is already being used, for example, this F11 option that we just saw in properties, I notice immediately flags it with this red triangle, and if I hover over that triangle, it will tell me that this shortcut is already used by the command, and then tells me what that command is, in this case, the properties pane. So I can quickly identify if there's a conflict. I could simply go back to my properties pane on the list here. I could assign this back to none, and then I would have F11 freed up to use for my rename points command in this example. Okay, the next feature we talked about was a extremely powerful new tool that's been added in 3.70, and that is the ability to merge survey projects. So in the past, if I have processed different days of data or different types of data for the same project, out in the field it's the same project, but in the office I have broken it out into different Trimble Business Center projects in order to keep things isolated and separated, easier to manage, then you were stuck with trying to use an export and then import into another TBC project if you wanted to combine all that data. Well, Trimble's now introduced a merge survey projects command on the survey tab that will allow you to just simply merge VCE files or project files in Trimble Business Center into one another and basically merge those together without having to reprocess raw data or rely on some form of an export format. This will simply allow you to take those different projects and maintain all of the edits or QA/QC work that you may have done from your field data, whether it was correcting rod heights or changing point numbers, processing static baselines, for example, in this case, whatever work has been done in TBC, this will allow you to merge those together. So for example, I'll take my static network here and I want to merge it with a traverse that has been done over the same area. For example, I have my merge test. This is my static project. I can see up the top. I'm going to use my merge test traverse project here. And just as if you were importing raw data, it's going to give you a dialog box to allow you to select what you would like to do with any points that need to be merged or any duplicate points. So I'm going to choose to merge these points. I can import those. Now I see I have my, close my command here. I have my traverse overlaid on top of my static network. Okay, and then I would troubleshoot any flags that would come up from any tolerance issues or different control quality or survey quality points, things like that. The last new command that we wanted to highlight in TBC 3.70 is the ability to convert coordinates from local to global. The example is when you import NGS datasheets or points that you've processed through Opus, brings in the local coordinate. In order to use these in a site calibration, you must have global coordinates. So, for example, the local coordinate would be a NAT83 coordinate, and a global would be a WGS84 coordinate. The site calibration routine or functionality inside of TBC requires a global coordinate in order to run, in order to actually process the site calibration. This is because when you're updating the position of that point through site calibration, you're updating that position on the local datum, and you're unable to do this without a global coordinate, because otherwise you would be trying to update the local coordinate with a local coordinate, and it wouldn't have an outside reference in order to actually process that functionality, and the system wouldn't work. The old functionality inside of TBC was to go through and disable all of your grid or local coordinates that may have been shot on a point, and then you would be able to use the remaining global coordinate as the basis for your site calibration. Well, now in 3.70, if I go in and have my off-centered point, in this case, this is my Opus solution that I've imported. I see the local point there. I can change that simply by right-clicking and clicking Change Local to Global. And now my off-centered point is now a global coordinate, and I could use this as a basis for my site calibration. I can also go back the other direction, as we saw when I first clicked on the point, and I could toggle it back to local, and I would see my local coordinate pop up. So you have the ability now, just within a right-click functionality in the Project Explorer, to update that point from local to global coordinates. Other functionality that was added inside of TBC includes the ability to update your projection origin in a site calibration. So to remove as much distortion as possible, you can localize the starting point for your projected plane in a site calibration. Feature codes in the properties pane or in the spreadsheets now have an autocomplete functionality. So as you start typing feature codes, they will automatically finish for you. There's a new snaps menu on the CAD tab. There is the ability to see a visual representation of the different snaps that TBC has, and you can see which of them are enabled and which are disabled. The inverse results report has gotten an upgrade and an enhancement, and the layer manager continues to show upgrades as well for managing your layers between TBC and your CAD package. So do check those out. Any other updates, which there are many, would be covered in the release notes, and you can scroll through those and see what has been updated, what the new features are, and it's broken out there in the different sections of the release notes. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you have any questions on it or other videos that we have posted, or other questions regarding TBC or other Trimble products, please reach out to us at support@csdsinc.com, or you can also find us on our website at www.csdsinc.com.